everybody. Welcome back to Challenge Call with Max and Avery. I'm your host, Max.
And I am Avery. How are you guys?
All right. Avery and I have both already mentioned that we've been a little out of the football scene this week. I don't know what it was for you. For me personally, I don't know. It's kind of mid-season for me right now, so it's just starting to drag on. And also, I'm moving into a new apartment, so that's my focus has been a little bit elsewhere the past few days, so I haven't been paying a ton of attention to what's going on football wise.
For sure, man. How's your season going?
We are now 3-2, three and
Ooh,
one in conference. So
ooh.
that's nice to have a winning record there. Probably gonna lose this upcoming week, but we'll get to that when we get there. So
For sure. Yeah, no, for me, man, this week it's midterms next week, so you know how that is. And so I've been really focused school wise and work, and it's just like last semester. That's all I keep telling myself. Last semester, I need to finish this strong, and unlike the Cubs this year, they did not finish strong, and we'll get right into the Cubs corner. The Cubs got eliminated. We just fell apart, man. And we were talking about it last week that we kind of needed a miracle to happen, and Brewers beat us twice, and we just got eliminated on the last day of regular season. So that really stings. But maybe next year. We got a young team, so hopefully next year.
yep. When you have a young team like that, you always have to look ahead to like, okay, give us another year or two, let them develop. Maybe we'll make some things all right. Um, But getting into some football talk here, we'll go into our fantasy updates real quick. Avery, how's your fantasy team going?
Whoo! All right, I got a funny story about that. This week, right now, I'm up 32 to 7 against Brady. He started the Washington Commanders defense, so that was awesome. But thank God, because like I looked like 3 minutes before I made a trade for Justin Herbert a couple weeks back, and because Justin Fields was not performing very great, and I looked 3 minutes and I realized the Chargers are on a bye this week, and I was like, oh fuck, thank God. And I was able to switch right before Thursday night football, and Justin Fields had a pretty damn good day to have him starting for me. So he scored me 32 points.
I had not in our league, but in my other league, I actually have DJ Moore, and DJ Moore scored like 49 points. So I'm projected like 150 in that
Nice.
league, which is going to be a hefty win. In our league, can't say as much right now. My probability of winning is 48%. So it's really anybody's game, kind of just comes down to who's going to perform and who's not. I do have a couple of my typical starters on a bye and or out, so that's going to hurt me a little bit, but hopefully my backups can make some things happen. And I don't know. I'm 1-3, I think, right now, or 3 weeks in. 1-3 right now. Kind of just trying to get a couple more wins out, trying not to be last in the league. I don't have super high hopes for the season as a whole.
For sure. Yeah, I'm 2-2 right now. So like I'm 2-2. Brady fucking had someone last, so I'm actually playing another guy in our league, but the other guy, he had like some guy go off last week, and I lost by like 2 points, and I hate it. I'm 2-2, but I still have like a 68% chance to make the playoffs. So that'll be cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Well, let's get into our college football recap a little bit here. We technically missed a couple of weeks now because we recorded last time on like a Thursday, and a Saturday went by, and now we're recording Saturday night. So just how the schedule goes, but it is what it is. So first we'll recap our couple of Iowa games that we have. First off, Iowa played Michigan State at home. Iowa thankfully won it 26-16. 26 points does, how do I want to say it, beat the 25 points per game expectations placed on Brian Ferrings. I still hate that though, because Cooper DeJean scored a touchdown on a
Yep.
punt return, which has absolutely nothing to do with Brian Ferentz, and yet he is going to benefit from that. And that just irks me.
For sure. And that Cooper DeJean really turned that game around for us. If it wasn't out
Thank
for,
God.
yeah, because it was looking dicey. Unfortunately, we lost Cade McNamara for a long time. I think he might be out most of the year. And so we're rocking with Deacon Hill. And man, Deacon Hill's huge, dude. Like
He's a big boy.
he did ball out though. Like he doesn't do everything. Like he's young. He's very young, and I'm okay with that. But he does all the little things right, and that's what you want as a starting quarterback. And he had a decent game. I think he 110 yards, 120 yards. It wasn't too bad. But yeah, we pulled it off against Michigan State, which then that originally moved us to 4-1 on the year.
Yep. And now, as of this afternoon, we also beat Purdue 20-14. That 20 brings that point total back down below what Brian Ferentz needs. I don't know what his official number is right now for this season, but I'm pretty sure it's just below his goals of 25. And I hope it stays there because, fuck him. He doesn't deserve a bonus. But also, speaking back to Deacon Hill did not have as successful as a game against Purdue as he did Michigan State. He was 6 for 21. He threw for 110 yards, which isn't bad, but I mean, when you look at completion percentage wise, 6 for 21, that's not exactly where you want it to be out of your quarterback.
Yeah, I have a lot about this game because like on Saturdays when it slows down and I knew it was a 2:30 game, like I got to do some like meaningless stuff that I can like actually pull my phone out and watch some of the game. And this game was on fucking Peacock. Who has Peacock in this world? Like, it wasn't on YouTube TV. It wasn't on ESPN unless you have ESPN Plus. It was on Peacock TV. I hated every aspect of this game.
That is like the one subscription service that like I don't have.
Right.
I have YouTube TV. We both do. I have Disney. I have Amazon. I have Hulu, Netflix. Like I've got all your basics and a couple others, but Peacock is just that's such a strange one to have it on.
I agree. I hate it because I couldn't even pull it up. So I was watching the ESPN fantasy tracker or like ESPN simulation tracker. It was all right, but it sucked not actually getting to watch this game. And I haven't even watched the highlights because I just got off work a little fast. And so I haven't even watched the highlights. But Caleb Johnson, man, he had a game. He had 134 yards rushing, 1 TD. Like, thank God for our running game. The embarrassing.
I tuned into the Hawkeye radio. I went like immediately after our game because our game kicked off at 2:00. This game kicked off at 2:30, so it was almost directly overlapping. So I wouldn't really have gotten to watch it that much either way. But after our game, I went back to the office and I did pull up their website, went to the Hawkeye radio and listened to. It was most of the fourth quarter left. I had most of the fourth quarter that I was able to listen to, thankfully. So I did listen to that, and yeah, I saw some of the stats, and I saw Caleb Johnson was back, so that is huge for us. Just having him back on the field in general, especially in such a time of need, now that Cade is out for the season, like we needed that. We needed a running back that can actually handle the ball and like get the job done. Not that the ones we currently had left over weren't, but now we've got 3 guys that we can hand the ball off to, keep them all fresh, and keep them going.
For sure, I agree. And dude, it's embarrassing though. Like, look at our receiving. We only had 2 players and neither of them were wide receivers. There's something wrong with Brian Ferentz's play calling. Even in a shitty, even like Army in the triple option, they still have receptions by wide receivers. Like Eric All, 5 receptions, 97 yards. Thank God for Eric All. Like hindsight 2020 with Luke Lachey getting hurt. Thank God he came in as a transfer. And then Caleb Johnson, 1 reception for 13 yards. That's embarrassing, dude. Like that's just so bad. Thank God our defense came out. They played well. Logan Lee had 2 sacks. So that was huge. But like
the last one, a super crucial one that ended the game pretty much.
Right. Yeah, Hudson Card on Purdue, he looked okay though, and Purdue looks a little feisty. I think they could, make some noise in the Big Ten West this year. I mean, they're 2-4 right now, so they haven't had the greatest year so far. But they're one of those teams that you can never count out, especially at Iowa. Like Purdue always plays Iowa tough.
Speaking of the Big Ten West, how is it stacking up right now? Is Iowa currently leading or in second place in the West
We are second place right now,
behind
unfortunately.
Wisconsin?
Behind Wisconsin, which we play them next week. So that's the sad reality is like it should not happen in week 6, but that might be the game that might be the game that defines the Big Ten West champions this year.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like right now because I can't think of anybody else that's even a contender for that spot at the moment, and it's going to come down to if Iowa takes care of business and handles everybody else that they need to handle. Wisconsin and Iowa both have one loss. Hopefully, if with Wisconsin's one loss is to Iowa, we'll get the head-to-head, and then we'll go get our dicks kicked in by Michigan. But
Or Ohio State or Penn State, one of the three.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be Michigan is currently ranked number 2 in the country. I have a feeling it's going to be Michigan.
Probably that team is dangerous this year.
Definitely. But moving out of the Big Ten West, out of the Big Ten in general a little bit, we'll get into my Buffs a little here. They did have a much better game against USC, number 8. They only lost it by 7 points. They did score a touchdown kind of last minute, so it wasn't necessarily a close game. But I'll take 48-41 over what was Oregon, 56-7.
Yeah, it was bad.
So, I will definitely take offensive production with a still close loss over the absolute blowout that we took at Oregon.
And hey, your boy Shador, he played great in this game, 371 yards, 4 TDs. Caleb Williams also played phenomenal in this game. He had 403 yards and 6 TDs and 1 interception.
This was an offensive just battle right now. Just look at the score. Both teams had over 40 points. This was an offensive battle.
Yeah, it was definitely a shootout. And the cool thing about this, and I do like Dion. I kind of flip my stance on Dion. I think he is performing. He's turning around that program. But like I said, they matched up better. USC has no defense. And I'm excited actually for that aspect of them joining the Big Ten because when they face real defenses and their defense can't stop, I mean, Iowa, it won't matter because we won't score anyways, but still their defense is ass. It's terrible. Colorado should not have scored 41 points on these guys, especially when they're number 5 in the country or number 8 in the country.
They were number 8. I don't know if they've changed as of the week they played Colorado. They were number 8.
Yeah,
I don't know if they are still there or if they've moved. But
they're number 9 now. So 9. I mean, they moved down one, which actually is kind of deserving because their defense is that bad. They play their defense is like a Mountain West caliber defense. And their offense is one of the best in the country. So when that both happen, what can you do? You can't do much.
Definitely. Colorado's next game was against Arizona State, who was 1-4. Colorado only won it 27-24. I watched nothing of this game. Honestly, didn't even think to look up who Colorado played or anything. Like I said, I've been a little out of football, but I did see that was the score, and that is a little worrisome from Colorado. How do you lose by 7 points against a top 10 team like USC, but then only put up 27 and barely win by 3 against someone like Arizona State? They seem like they're bouncing around a little bit. I don't know if it's a confidence thing or if they just lack a little consistency. I mean, they are young, they are new, they don't necessarily have the same kind of, consistent day in, day out mentality. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on there, but I'm glad they ultimately came out with the win. If they would not have, that would have been arguably more embarrassing than Oregon, but...
Well, and at this point of the year, man, any win is crucial for Colorado. Like they're 4-2 now. Like that's awesome. Like for a team that won one game last year, like even if Dion didn't win this game by a lot, like it's still a win in that book because they won one game last year. That losing culture really sticks around even if you bring in new guys. It really does. So like seeing them win 27-24, that's pretty impressive still. Like 4-2 is 4-2. That's a winning record. That's 2 games above 500.
Definitely, and that's still at this point bowl game eligible. Like they are hoping to see a bowl at the end of the season.
Right. Shador had a very pedestrian game this one. 239 yards, 1 TD. But maybe they're trying to figure out Shador now. Like maybe he's starting to, defenses are keying in. Because when you transfer from Jackson State, HBCU, like there's film on you, but there's not film in that system that you're running at Colorado with those players. And so maybe defenses are starting to realize, okay, there's more film out on Shador now. This is how we stop him. These are his tendencies. Here it is.
Yeah, they're at that point where they're no longer an unknown team.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's actually a perfect point. It's like, hey, this entire roster is new. Dion's a new coach. Like everything about this program is new. No one really knew or knows what they were going to do on the field, like play call wise or play style wise. Like they could have come out with the fucking triple option for all anybody knew.
For
But
sure.
so that is a good point. Like, yeah, now there's a little film now that like teams are starting to be able to game plan, even in just a like general sense. Like, okay, we've seen a couple games. At least we can get together somewhat of a game plan. That definitely does go a long way, and that's where Dion really, really needs to have his. Like, you're saying, like he's a good coach. Like, I think he is too. But that's also what can make or break a good coach is you got to know your opponent and you got to game plan perfectly for who you're going to play that week.
I agree 100%. And so we'll see how they do next week. I don't know who they played. We'll probably bring that up in the next podcast. But
Yeah. They play I was just looking at it, I feel. But yeah, we'll mention it before our next episode. I'm sure we'll record before Saturday next week. But another big game that we had here, I watched a little bit of this actually. The Red River rivalry with number 12 Oklahoma versus number 3 Texas. Shocker a little bit actually. Oklahoma ended up winning it 34-30. So Texas is probably losing that number 3 spot, and that's huge because that means they are probably effectively out of the college football playoffs now. I mean, they could still make it in the playoffs even with one loss. There's been plenty. I mean, Florida's won the college football playoffs, I think twice, and they had one loss. But it's going to be a lot rougher of a time making college football playoffs with that one loss on your record, especially to a team as low as number 12. That's going to hurt them a lot in the as far as rankings go.
yeah, no, I pulled this game up too. And because it was playing around like before I was going to work, and so I watched the first half, and it was a good game. Like Oklahoma and Texas, they always play each other tough. Like you never know who's gonna win that game. My buddy Phil, he's from Texas, and he's a Baylor fan, but he roots as his second team as Texas. And so he was like heartbroken after this game because like they went from like a 70% chance of going to the playoffs if they would have won down to a 29% chance. And so like I got a feeling that they are going to lose. I think they'll lose one more game in this schedule, unfortunately. And I don't think we're gonna see Texas in the playoffs this year. But they do got a good team. Like they still do. Quinn Ewers made a couple of mistakes. He threw 2 picks in this game, which kind of hurt him, especially a fumble that Oklahoma capitalized. But a person that no one's really talking about is Dylan Gabriel, Oklahoma's quarterback. Like he's been balling out all year, and he had another great game, dude. He had 285 yards through the air and then 113 on the ground. And so, like, when you got dynamic quarterback play, and it wasn't the quarterback that we all thought would have played great in this game, like it really shows. And Oklahoma actually did deserve to win this game.
Definitely. And it still was a very, very close game. And Texas has time. Like Quinn Ewers is what, a sophomore, right?
Yeah,
So he's got time. They've got him. They're building. They might not make the playoffs this year. Next year, I would think that they would be pretty sure set. Another year under the belt. You have most of your guys back. They should be doing just fine next year. They should just be happy being top five currently. We'll see if they remain top five after this loss, but
they'll drop for sure. I guarantee they have to drop out of the top five after losing that game. Unfortunately,
top
Oklahoma
10,
was
maybe.
yeah, they'll top 10. Oklahoma will skyrocket though. They went from 12, they'll probably go up to 8, maybe 7. And Oklahoma hasn't been in the playoffs since Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray. So I mean, it'll be interesting. It'll be kind of fresh blood. Not really if Oklahoma can run the table and win the Big 12. But this does hurt Texas also winning the Big 12.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the conference implications on this. Everything's always about the championship, right? Like, what is a
Yeah.
conference? But no, yeah, this hurts a lot, even just from the conference standpoint side of things. But another last game that we'll recap right now for you guys: number 10 Notre Dame versus number 25 Louisville. That's a little surprising. Louisville doesn't seem like they're a great team that often, but even bigger shocker here is that they actually beat number 10 Notre Dame 33-20.
Pretty handily, too. Like Jeff Brom, he was Purdue's head coach for a long time. He made the lateral move to go to Louisville, middle of the pack, ACC school instead of middle of the pack, Big Ten school. And he's performing with this middle of the pack ACC school in Louisville. 33-20. And unfortunately, our boy Sam Hartman came back down to earth during this game. 3 picks. That's going to hurt his Heisman talk. That's going to hurt his Heisman candidacy. I mean, he struggled in this game. And, it's kind of a breath of fresh air because now Louisville's 6-0 in the ACC. So, this is going to be something to watch now for the future to see, hey, how far can Louisville climb? Could they be a playoff team? Because if they go and they run the table with the ACC and they win the conference, they're a playoff team.
Definitely. I think it'll be difficult. We'll have to see how high they go after this. I mean,
Right.
beating number 10 Notre Dame, that's an accomplishment. You beat a top 10 team. So we'll see if they move up a ton from 25, or it's one of those where we've always made the Iowa argument: is Louisville going to jump a bunch, or is Notre Dame just going to drop a bunch and Louisville is going to barely move? Because
Yeah.
that's what feels like always happens to Iowa. It's like, oh, the team they beat just dropped a ton. We barely moved up. Like, what? But we will see how those numbers go and what happens there. Once again, it's all freaking analysts and a bunch of bullshit that just, it's made up. It's all fucking made up. It's just whoever decides it that day, which is stupid. But getting into some real football done the right way, we will do our NFL recap, starting out with the Bills versus the Dolphins. Bills crushed it 48-20. Wasn't much of a game. I did not watch. Do you watch any of this game?
I did actually. Yeah, this was a good game, man. And speaking of teams that came back down to earth, the Miami Dolphins have officially came back down to earth. They, I like the Dolphins, right? But they still don't have the defense figured out. When your offense can't score 30 points, they're not going to win the game. And when they go up against a juggernaut like the Buffalo Bills that have been pretty consistent in the last 10 years, 7 years since Josh Allen, you're going to see this type of performance. And Josh Allen balled out. He had a great game. Remember after week 1 when they lost to the Jets, everybody had question marks about Josh Allen. I think they're gone at this point. I think they are gone. He went 21 for 25 and 320 yards and 4 TDs. You can't have a better stat line than that.
No. And Josh Allen, I was always sure he was going to find himself. That was a rough game from him that first week. And I was baffled. It was truly shocking because I did not expect that out of Josh Allen whatsoever. But I was also pretty confident that throughout the season, he was going to bring, he's going to be fine. He is definitely a plenty talented, well-deserving, hardworking quarterback. I would not be worried for an entire season about his performance ever. He is going to be a solid guy one way or another.
Yeah, and Bills moved to 3-1. Dolphins go down to 3-1, and so they're still tied. Well, Bills own the tiebreaker, but they're still 3-1 at the top of that division. So it's one of those divisions, man, kind of like the Pac-12 in college football, that they're gonna like cannibalize each other because there's no real like legit team that separates themselves, which I mean the Bills made a good point that they could be that team that could separate themselves this year. So maybe I'm wrong.
I like what you said about the Pac-12 there, just because one of our assistant coaches was talking about that, like how we were talking that there's so many good teams in the Pac-12. None of them are going to make the playoffs because they're all going to eat each other. Like everyone's going to have one loss to another really good Pac-12 team, and ultimately they're going to beat each other out, and
I
that kind
agree.
of sucks. But once again, that's just the reality of how stupid it is that it's all rankings and bullshit. And I'll get off that soapbox, but I really just hate how they do college football playoffs a lot.
It's very
But getting into our this was the other toilet bowl, wasn't it? The
it
same time
was.
that the Bears were playing the Broncos. These were the other last two undefeated, only defeated, winless teams that played. We had the Vikings versus the Panthers. Somebody was coming out not a loser anymore, and somebody was coming out just as bad as the Bears came out. More on that later. But Vikings managed to pull it off 21-13, leaving the Panthers winless 0-4. Did you I didn't watch this game. Was
I
this at the
watched
same time as the Bears?
it was. I watched it on Red Zone when the Bears were at halftime, essentially. But Kirk Cousins struggled during this game, which is very unlike Kirk because he's usually kind of the bright spot of the Vikings. The offense is with Justin Jefferson and TJ Hawkinson. But he threw two picks. He only threw for 139 yards, but the defense actually came in clutch for the Minnesota Vikings, which never really happens. The Vikings have probably one of the worst defenses in the league also. And so like seeing them, come out, but granted they were playing a rookie quarterback, Bryce Young. This whole year Bryce Young kind of gets that, he's a rookie quarterback treatment.
Yeah.
There's no fault against him. He's a rookie quarterback. And we've seen it ourselves. We've given our quarterback 3 years.
Yeah.
And so like we know what that treatment's like. So you got to kind of treat it with kid gloves. And Bryce Young, he didn't have the best performance, 204 yards, no picks. I mean, that's a bright side for the Panthers. The reason I want to talk about this game is because we're officially on Panther watch this year. We want the Panthers to lose every single game they play because we have their first round pick. And so let's have the Panthers go 0-17 this year. Like, we need it.
Yeah, there is a world still where the Bears get the number 1 and the number 2 pick in the draft. Just Panthers have to, suck.
Yep. And I think they do suck. They're really bad. They're not a good team. They have a decent defense, but their offense is very, very bad.
And like you said, they're having the same woes. I mean, Peyton Manning, Joe Burrow, fucking nobody comes in and just absolutely balls out. Of course, Bryce Young's going to take a little time. He's got to get acquainted with the offense, being an NFL quarterback. I'm sure he'll hit his stride in the next year or two.
Yeah. I mean, CJ Stroud is balling out for the Houston.
That is true.
He is. He's having a great year. He still hasn't thrown a pick. A rookie quarterback going into week 4 or week 5 still hasn't thrown a pick, and he's going to win Rookie of the Year this year. Texans lucked into a really good quarterback. Like, I like CJ Stroud. We were big Stroud boys coming in. Like, we thought CJ Stroud was the better quarterback than Bryce Young was, and
Yep.
I still stand by that. So you heard it from this podcast first. CJ Stroud, Hall of Famer.
There's no way you can not stand by that now. I mean, just granted, different teams, different weapons, different situations, whatever. But still, at the end of the day, like you said, who's performing? Who's winning games? Who's who is currently doing better their rookie year?
Yeah, and to be honest, probably a worse roster too. Like the Texans don't have that great of a roster. Can you name one Texans wide receiver on their roster?
Nope.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, and so CJ Stroud, like, mad props to CJ. I know we went off a script there, but mad props to CJ. I'm pretty proud.
Fuller.
Oh yeah, there you go, Will Fuller. Yeah,
See,
Tank Dell's there, a rookie that's been balling out. So I mean, hey, maybe they got a little bit of young nucleus there in Houston, but they are fun to watch. I like Houston.
that's definitely a shift in things in the football world, but yeah, we'll follow that a little bit. I like CJ Stroud.
Me too. I kind of wanted him as our quarterback a little bit, but we would have ruined him.
I didn't want to say it. I really didn't want
I,
to say it, but that is exactly like that is why I paused. That's why I had to sit there for a second. Like, do I bring it up? Do I mention
well,
it? Like, nah, should.
and the weird reality, we saw this pro style quarterback in CJ Stroud last year when he almost beat Georgia, the most NFL defense you're going to face in college football, the Georgia Bulldogs. And he literally was a field goal away from beating the Georgia Bulldogs in the playoffs. And that's when I knew CJ Stroud's the truth. And he's out here performing, man. Performing.
Yep, good for him. But speaking of Ohio State quarterbacks, we will get into our Bear necessities. We had a couple games go on since the Bears played. First game was against the Broncos. Everything looked great. Everything was solid. I didn't watch a lot of this game. Honestly, I kind of missed it. I was at work. But everything was going good, going dandy. We're up 28-7. Like, cool. We're going to win a game this season. And then shit hit the fan. We dropped off. Things got tied up 28-28. And ultimately, at the end of the day, Broncos won it 31-28.
Yep. This game stole like a lot from me. This was probably one of my worst games I've ever felt after the game being a fan. It was hard to swallow. When I saw us go up 28-7, we haven't seen this all year. Like, we hadn't seen that type of offensive production all year. Yeah, granted, it was the Denver Broncos, but Justin Fields was having a day. He broke a franchise record. He went 16 for 16. A Bears franchise record, a team that's been around since 1919. He broke a record going 16 consecutive passes. And it was amazing. I thought everything was great. I thought everything was well. And then we fell apart, and I didn't know how to take it. A lot of it does not. This game does not fall on Justin Fields. It never did. Like, I mean, yeah, he fumbled the ball, but like it was like a blitz.
And threw a pick.
He did throw a pick, but that was at the end of the game, and he was just trying to make something happen. So, like, I get that. I'll take a pick at that time because he was just trying to make something happen. The one thing with Fields, and I'm gonna say this because I kind of saw that in the game this upcoming week, is he gets into his head. He really does. He gets into his head. When it's great, it's great. Justin's performing. He's hitting balls. He's hitting everything. Like, he looks like he can be a franchise quarterback. And then when shit starts to hit the fan, he falls apart. And it sucks. It really does suck. But at the end of the day, like, in reality, the Bears, it falls on coaching. Like, it does. Like, Matt Eberflus is a terrible head coach. Like, I think he should not be the Chicago Bears head coach moving forward. The hard reality and the hard part is it's gonna be like, I don't think we need to move on from Justin Fields. This game solidified that the only way we move on from Justin Fields is if Caleb Williams is available in the draft. I think Justin Fields, go ahead.
And not even just this game, but even the game after this when we played the Commanders. Once again, we had a ball out performance. Like, we actually put up 40 points. We actually put up 40 points for one time in the past two. I don't even know if we did that last year at all.
Nope.
Honestly. So that is huge for us. Now, Chicago did almost throw the game away. They still looked like they wanted to lose kind of toward the end of it, late third, early fourth quarter. Things were falling apart a little bit, and we kind of panicked for a second, like, uh-oh, happening again. Here we go. But ultimately, 40-20, victory over the Washington Commanders. Justin Fields had a hell of a day there too. Yeah, I think there's decent reason to think we should stick with him. As for Eberflus,
No.
as you mentioned, he should not be the head coach. There was a rumor that he was going to be fired if he lost this game. They won it, so we'll never truly know. But the Bears have never fired a coach in season before. Like, if anything, Eberflus is going to be gone at the end of the season, but I don't think we're going to let him go early at all.
So this game, all right, we're moving past the Broncos. We went 0-4. We came in, and I was not expecting a win against the Commanders. I was
I
not
honestly wasn't either, because they had just played the Eagles the week before, and they
very
only lost 34-31.
Yeah, no, I wasn't expecting a win at all. And Justin had a great first half. We did go up 27-3, and we tried our best to give our game away. We tried the best to give the game away, and we prevailed. And a lot to do with this is a certain wide receiver we traded a number 1 pick for, and DJ fucking Moore. Dude, I'm gonna say this right now. I think he's the best Bears receiver I've ever seen.
Definitely. He has more talent than I feel like anyone we've ever had. I mean, shit, he got me 49 fantasy points this week. That's a fucking G right there.
Right. No, and we've had receivers, like we had Allen Robinson, he was good in Chicago. We had Alshon Jeffrey, we had Musha Muhammad, but we've never had a dynamic playmaker like DJ Morris. Like Justin Fields is literally perfect when targeting DJ Moore this year. And that one pass was beautiful. It was beautiful. Like when he ended the game, he literally solidified a win for the Bears. And we were going on 14 games straight. Like we were going on 14 games of losing. And he literally pulled a rabbit out of his ass. And I think this is going to build on Justin Fields' confidence as much as DJ Morris and the whole Chicago Bears. Like I think we're going to just keep building and building and building.
Yeah. I think this is some much needed confidence going forward. Justin, 2 games. Granted, we still lost the Broncos, but he's had 2 games back to back now where he's looked like a competent quarterback. He's done some things. He's had some good stat lines. I think we see that continue a little bit. I think he's finally just starting to hit something of a stride. He's gained a little bit of confidence, some experience under his belt. I think he's hitting a little bit of his stride right now. I think we will start seeing some more decent production out of Fields. I'm not saying they're going to go on and win a bunch of games or even end up 500 or anything crazy like that. But I think the Justin Fields we see going forward after these couple of games is not going to be the same Justin Field that we've been watching for the past 3 years.
No, and I agree 100% with what you just said. Like, this is not going to be the same Justin Fields. Like, I think we finally flipped the corner, and I think he is our franchise quarterback. I know people are still saying Caleb Williams, blah, blah, blah. Justin Fields, man, like I said before, he's performed out of his mind. He's 627 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 1 interception in the last 2 games. That's insane. Right now, he's leading the league in passing touchdowns. Granted, everybody else hasn't played a game yet, but he's leading the league in passing touchdowns right now, which from a Bears quarterback, we've never seen that. And the thing is, like, he's fighting through bad coaching. Like, and that's awesome. Like, to see your franchise quarterback, and I'm just going to say it, he's our franchise quarterback, fighting through bad coaching, fighting through a really bad defense, because even in this game, our defense, like, yeah, it looked okay in the first half, but we had a couple of things go our way. We had a fumble that we recovered. We had a pick that we picked off. Like, usually that stuff doesn't happen with the Bears. And, dude, I saw a thing, and I don't know how accurate it is, but out of the last 16 games, the Bears have averaged 30 points on the offensive side of the ball. And when's the last time a Bears offense has averaged 30 points on the offensive side of the ball? I can't even tell you.
When's the last time a Bears offense has scored 30 points on the offensive side of the ball?
And a lot of it's Justin Fields. Like, he does have this dynamic play about him. And the locker room loves the guy. I love the guy. The media tears him apart because he's a Bears quarterback. That's what it is. Like if he was the, I don't know, Atlanta Falcons quarterback, because there's been rumors of him going to the Atlanta Falcons, he would not get teared apart like he is in Chicago. And I fully stand with that. I think Justin Fields, he has performed. And I think we're going to see this continue with the Minnesota Vikings next week.
Yep. That is going to be a huge one in division game. Both teams 1-4. We'll talk more about that next week in our episode because I'm sure we will record sometime before next Saturday, Sunday,
Yeah.
next weekend. So we will do our true pregame view of that then. But yes, that is definitely going to be a game to watch because that's going to be the true kind of solidifier of, okay, you did it 2 games back to back. You had some decent games. You won one of them. You did lose one, but still solid games. Do you continue that streak?
Right. And, you know, I want to go back to the Broncos a little bit real quick. The Broncos game, when you have a quarterback that has like a fragile like confidence issue right now, you don't go for it on 4th and 2 and give it to Khalil Herbert. You don't go for it on 4th and 2. You kick that go ahead field goal and you let the defense fuck up. And you're supposed to be a defensive minded head coach, and you don't give your defense an opportunity to make a stop against one of the worst offenses in the league. That's fucked up. That's one that shows that Matt Eberflus is over his head as a head coach in the NFL right now, because you don't let that happen. You give the confidence to your young quarterback and you let them take the lead.
Yep. That honestly seems fitting for a defensively minded coach. Like I can see that so well, just being like, oh, like let's let the offense do it, go for the 4th. Yeah, they can get it. Like, how hard is it? It's not easy to stop a 4th and 1. Fucking go for it. Yeah, well, I don't want the defense out there. Like, they could score on us. Like, I don't know, something about thinking defensively, I could just see that being the case. And yeah, that is a horrible call. Like, you want to score the field goal. Obviously, we score the field goal there. It ties the game up, if anything.
We
If
go
anything, they don't score another touchdown at the end, and we actually win this game. So that is a huge pivotal moment right there that could have been very, very different for us.
Yeah.
But we will talk more about the Bears' upcoming game against the Vikings in our next episode. But as far as tomorrow, we do have some other upcoming games that are worth mentioning here. We'll start out in division a little bit with the Lions, our little bit of a secret fandom right now. But Lions will be playing the Panthers, and we will see. The Lions take this. I don't even know what there is to see. The Panthers haven't won a game all year. The Lions actually look good. Lions are taking this win.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Jared Goff's been performing out of his mind, but like any given Sunday, it could happen. Like the Panthers could pull a rabbit out of their ass. The thing is, the Lions are playing very, very great. Like they're having a great year. But the one thing with this is the Lions aren't used to this. The Detroit Lions aren't. This could be a letdown game. Like they could overlook the Carolina Panthers. Like I mentioned earlier, the Carolina Panthers, they have a good defense. Like if Bryce Young puts together one good game, like the Panthers could sneakily beat the Lions. So it'll be a fun game to kind of watch, and it's nice that we can watch some football tomorrow. Well, I can watch some football tomorrow. Maybe not you.
I'll be working and moving. But
yeah, so I'll be able to watch this game because I don't got to watch the Bears because we played on Thursday night. That's the only bright spot, even though my wife wants us to go to a pumpkin patch. But that's besides the point.
Pumpkin patches are fucking awesome, and I would definitely take that over some football games. Only some. But, no, yeah, that is definitely where you run into the issue with some of these teams that are a little bit up and coming. Like they are inexperienced to stardom. Like they start getting a little bit too big of an ego, almost like Colorado going into that Oregon game. Like that Oregon game was a little bit of a like, hey, wake the fuck up game. Like you can't sleep on a team. ever. I don't care who it is you're playing. I don't care what the matchup looks like. You can never sleep on a team, especially at this level. Everybody is preparing their absolute best for everybody. And just because you're the top team, it doesn't mean you can just show up and beat whoever you want. Some cases, yeah, it might work out that way, but it's risky. Like you take that winning 9 times out of 10 and you turn it into winning 7 times out of 10. Like that's risky to give up. So definitely Lions need to keep on their grind, on their tracks. They need to stay focused. They need to make sure that they are preparing adequately for the Panthers because, like you said, their defense can do some things. So when they come up across them, they better be ready to face them.
For sure, I agree 100%.
Getting into our next game we have going on here, Eagles versus Rams. This is going to be the afternoon game, one of the 3 p.m. games. How are the Rams doing this season? I still think of the Rams as like the previous Super Bowl champs, like, oh, what a team kind of, but are they doing all that great this season?
They're not doing bad. Trying to pull up they're 2-2. So kind of same spot as the Commanders were, but they've also played the 49ers. They've played some good teams this year. And so, like, of course, the Rams are going to suffer a little bit with that because they do. Cooper Kupp still hurt, but he's supposed to be back this week. So that'll change that offense dramatically.
How
Like
about his backup though? Frickin', I can't
Puka
think of.
Akua,
Yeah,
dude,
Puka Akua. I
is a
played him in fantasy that like first week Cooper Kupp was out, or maybe it was the second week, and I was pissed because I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy out there just tearing up the field right now? Like this is insane."
a 4th-round pick. Believe it or not, he's balled out this year. Puka Akua is amazing. I like the name. I mean, it's a cool
I
name.
do too.
It is really cool. So he's becoming like one of my favorite wide receivers just because of his name. But no, like, yeah, he's balled out throughout the year. They did beat Seattle. I mean, Seattle's a good team. Like people are always talk about, I think Seattle's very, very underrated. And they won 30-13. And then they lost to the 49ers 30-23. And then last week they lost to the Bengals 19-16. So all of those teams were playoff teams last year. And then they beat the Colts 29-23. So like they beat the Colts. So like, I mean, 2-2, I mean, of course they're going to, drop those games. The Eagles, this could be a trap game. That's what I think. They're 4-0. They're all high and mighty. Super Bowl, last year. Like Jalen Hurts is the guy. Their offense, the tush push, the brotherly push, whatever it is. They've had like such a good year, and like they're having a great year. But like I think this is a game that they drop. I think Matt Stafford comes out and he balls out, and the Rams go to 3-2 because they're the Rams and they have a good team. And it comes down to coaching too. Like I think still I would take Sean McVay over Nick Sirianni any day of the week.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm leaning on the Eagles on this one. Just like I said, I have a tendency to think of the Rams as the old Super Bowl winning champ team, whatever. But last year they didn't do anything great. This year they're missing Cooper Kupp. I don't know. I don't know if I see it happening. I think the Eagles will stay prepared. I think the Eagles are ready to take on the world right now. They know they want to get back to that Super Bowl. They know what they got to do it. I think the Eagles do pull this one off. I don't think they're sleeping on anybody.
It'll be interesting to watch, though. It's kind of cool to see two previous NFC champs back-to-back years play.
Definitely.
I feel like we don't see that very often, so it'll be cool to see.
And this is only an afternoon slot, too. This isn't even one of the primetime games, such as Cowboys 49ers. Cowboys are undefeated as well, right? Both teams are undefeated? No, they're not?
No,
Who'd they lose to?
They lost to the Cardinals, actually.
Oh.
Believe it or not. Yeah, no, but that was like a down game. I don't know why they lost that game, but yeah, that was a down game. It'll be interesting to watch, man. I'm excited for this game. Like, Cowboys and the 49ers actually have this, like, little rivalry that dates back to the 90s. And so this is kind of a rivalry game because in the NFC Championship, it was always Cowboys or Niners in the 90s. And when you play a team, especially in the 90s like that, you know, their fan bases from that era are still here. They're still watching this game. They still hate each other. And it'll be really interesting to watch this game. I like it. I think the Cowboys pull it off. I think this is the Niners' first loss of the year.
Ooh, I don't know if I agree with that, but I definitely am super excited to watch this game. I do really, really like the 49ers. Just Brock Purdy, George Kittle, like a lot of guys to love on that roster. I'm a huge fan. So I'm super excited to watch this game. Thankfully, it's a Sunday night game, so I will be able to watch this game. Definitely going to have to get home, turn this one on, and see what happens. I do think the Cowboys could give the Niners a bit of a run for their money.
For sure. And I just want to mention, like you mentioned Brock Purdy, you mentioned George Kittle. Is Brock Purdy a top 10 quarterback? Like,
Yes.
has he like an unbiased opinion? You're looking at it as like a football analyst, a football coach. Is he a top 10 quarterback now? Like, I think he is. Like, I think he finally moved up to the upper echelon of like being a great quarterback in the NFL.
I mean, he's yet to lose a game, like a
Yeah,
regular season game. He is not lost. And granted, sure, look at who his team is. He's got Debo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle. Like, how do you lose with those guys? But still, at the same time, like, he's doing well. Like, he's got good numbers. He's got decent stats. Granted, he gets help from his teammates. But I mean, shit, that's football, you
for
know?
sure. Yeah, no, and like if you look at their schedule this year, 30, they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 30-7. They beat the Rams 30-23. They beat the Giants 30-12, which was a playoff team last year, and then they beat the Cardinals 35-16. Like this team is dangerous and they have an MVP on their roster right now and it's Christian fucking McCaffrey. That trade for Christian McCaffrey last year, like, brought the 49ers up to new levels. Like, Christian McCaffrey had 4 touchdowns against the Cardinals. 4 touchdowns. That's insane. Like, when's the last time we've seen a non quarterback or a non traditional player win the MVP? It could be this year with Christian McCaffrey.
Definitely. Christian McCaffrey is an absolute GOAT. Yeah, the 49ers definitely won that trade by a mile.
100.
I makes me think, I don't know what the Panthers are fucking doing out there. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, gone. TJ Moore, gone. Like, do you guys want good players or like what's your goal right now? What are you
I'm
doing?
so glad that you brought that up because they released something this week and said, we want a true number one receiver for Bryce Young to throw to. And I'm like, you guys got rid of a true number one wide
Yeah,
receiver.
like, you guys gave up your guy. Like, what do you mean?
A part of my mindset's like, do we just trade DJ Moore back to the Panthers and for like 3 first
For
round
picks?
picks? Be like, hey, you want a true number one receiver? 3 first round picks. Here you go. Like, we'll take the loss. You take DJ Moore back. Actually, no, I never want to let that guy go.
No, I would hate that trade.
I would hate it so much. I don't care if we get 3 first round picks. I'm already fantasizing about Marvin Harrison Jr. and DJ Moore in the same receiving core right now, and it sounds phenomenal. I'm so like almost yeah. It sounds phenomenal.
We need to keep DJ Moore around. I think he is worth a number one pick, which is why I think we do not give up a pick for him because we have him. We have a number one pick with the experience in the NFL. Let's keep the experience guy.
100%, 1,000%.
But last game we'll do here upcoming, our Monday night game, Packers versus Raiders. This seems like the least exciting game that we've listed so far, but it is the Monday night game. So, congrats to the NFL for picking fabulous games to play. I don't even know who I take to win this one. I haven't watched any of the Raiders. I don't know how the Raiders are doing whatsoever. I really haven't even paid that close attention to the Packers. I know they're pretty they're mid-tier, aren't they? Packers are right around that mid-pack. Like, they're not doing awful, but
yeah, no, they're 2-2. The Raiders are 1-3. The Raiders have not did great. Jimmy Garoppolo will be back this week though, so that will be an advantage for the Raiders.
that'll help.
Yeah, Devontae Adams did get hurt last week, unfortunately, but I think he should be back. A revenge game for Devontae Adams, by the way. So that'll be interesting to watch. The one thing I'm not gonna lie, I am becoming a Jordan Love supporter, and hear my reason. Because Jordan Love, from what I've seen this year, he's never gonna lead the Packers to the promised land. But
Oh, yeah.
he's but he's never gonna be bad enough for the Packers to replace him. I want them to be a mediocre quarterback hell for the next 10 years because that
I
would be beautiful for
I
Green.
think we've mentioned that on this podcast before.
Yeah,
One of the coaches at work has said a few times now, like he wants Jordan Love not to be absolute doo doo garbage, just because then the Packers are going to get rid of him and they're going to replace him, and it could potentially be with someone good. But if he's just good enough to be like, let's hang on to him, like, let's feel him out, or like, he's won a couple games, then the Packers are going to waste all kinds of times on him and fuck him. Like, they're going to be bad for a while.
yeah, and I think and a part of me is wanting the Packers to beat the Raiders this week. I mean, I know the Raiders are my second favorite team, but then it'll move the Packers to 3-2, and then they're gonna kind of gain some confidence, but then they're gonna fall apart because they play the Buffalo Bills the week after. And so I just want the Packers to be the most average team in the NFL for the next 10 years. That would
Yeah.
be great. I would love that.
As long as the Bears surpass them. I need the
Yeah,
Bears
at
to
some point.
surpass them in that.
It's not happening this year, but it could happen in the past. Dude, I think we got a little bit of time. Do you want to talk about our next 5 games in the Bears? I just want to
Real
pull up
quick.
the Bears schedule.
Real
I know
quick.
we're
Who are our next 5 games? We have a lot to see still in this very next game against the Vikings. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but what is our next 5 games for the lineup?
Yeah, so we play the Minnesota Vikings next, which are 1-3. They'll probably be 2-3 after this week with the Panthers, right? Or no, they play the Kansas City Chiefs, so they'll be 1-4. The Vikings play 1-4, and then they play. Then we play the Raiders, and the Raiders are not good this year. Then we play the Chargers, which have no defense whatsoever, and then we play the Saints, and then we play Carolina. In a weird reality, I think the Bears could win the next, or not the next, but out of these 5 games, I think the Bears could win 3. Like, I don't know if this is me on my third beer right now or within an hour, or if this is just me like feeling like confident after what we've seen from Justin Fields. But I think the Bears could win three games, which would put us officially at a 4-6 record, which isn't terrible. Which definitely removes us from the Caleb Williams talk because I don't
Yeah.
want him as our Bears quarterback. I
I don't
don't.
want him as I don't want him as a Bears quarterback either, but we have a long season to go still until we see anything of that come about. The big question will be against the Vikings. That is gonna once
Yeah,
I see us play the Vikings, that is when I'm gonna start to lock in a little bit. Like, okay, yeah, maybe we can win a few games. I don't know what we win throughout the year, but maybe a few of them do fall in our favor. Um, I think that is all we have today to really talk about. I'm tired. I still have film to grade from our game earlier today. And like I said, I'm moving tomorrow morning. I got to present those grades in the afternoon. So I'm tired. I need to go to bed. But I'm glad we could get you guys an episode this week. We will definitely try to get you another episode next week, ideally before Saturday, so we kind of hit it between college football games and all that jazz. But yeah, I think that is all I have to say for this episode.
for sure, man. Well, I appreciate you making the time. I mean, and guys, go like, subscribe, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. You know the deal. Thanks for following us and thanks for us rambling on. But all I got to say is Bear